Hi everyone. Today we're going to learn about World War II in a way that is super easy to understand. This is the biggest fight the world has ever seen, and it changes the whole world works. Even today, in the next 10 minutes, we'll go to 10 easy parts of how it started and how it ended and what happened after. No hard words, just a simple story you can follow along by the way through. And by the end, you'll know why this war happened and why it was such a big deal. And why people still talk about it almost 100 years later. So now let's get started. The World War II happened from 1939 to 1945. That's about 6 years of fighting all over the world. To help you picture that, this was the second time in one lifetime that the whole world got put in a giant war. Because the First World War ended only about 20 years before. The fighting didn't start everywhere at the same time. It begins in two separate places. The first one was Europe and Asia, and then those two fights joined together into one huge war. By the time it was over, almost every big country on earth was involved on one side or the other. It was the most destructive thing that has ever happened, and learning the timeline is the first step to understanding everything else. This big war was split into two teams, or you can call it just two big teams. The one was called the Allies. It was led by Britain, France, Soviet Union, United States, China, and plus a lot of smaller countries who joined them. And the other team, which is the bad guys, it was called the Axis power. It was made up of Germany, Italy, and Japan. And plus just like small fewer countries that weren't majorly involved who joined. These weren't two groups of countries. They believed in two totally different ideas about how the world should work. The Allies were fighting to protect their own land and later to stop spreading the harsh, controlling government and conquering. But the Axis power wanted to grab more land, to take resources, to control the other countries around them. This simple split into two teams is the backbone of the whole war. And almost every big battle fits into this picture. The war officially started on September 1st, 1939, when Germany was led by a man named Adolf Hitler sent a huge army to invade Poland. Germany used a new fighting style called Blitzkrieg, which just means lightning war. It was mixed with fast tanks, airplanes, and soldiers together to surprise and overwhelm the enemy before they could fight back. The Britain and France had promised to protect Poland, so 2 days later they declared war on Germany. That's the moment a regional invasion turned into world war. It's also worth knowing that Japan, which is the other side of the continent, has already been fighting China since 1937. So in a way, the war had two separate starting points, which eventually come together. But most of the war, for the most of the war, September 1939 is the moment everything changed. Okay, now to understand why, we need to go back at the end of the World War I. Germany was forced to accept a really harsh peace deal. It's lost a lot of land, had to pay a huge amount of money, and felt embarrassed in front of the whole world. The country then fell apart economically, with prices going crazy high and lots of people losing their job. Hitler who became powerful by promising to fix all of that, to make Germany strong and proud again. He wanted more land for German people to live on, which meant taking over countries to the east. Meanwhile, Japan was becoming a strong industrial country but didn't have many natural resources. It looked towards in Asia to get oil, rubber, and land. And then Italy, led by a man named Mussolini, wanted to build a big empire like the ancient Rome once had, around Africa and the Mediterranean Sea. So war so the war wasn't really about just one cause. It was about three powerful countries wanting more land, resource, power, and crashing into a world that wasn't ready to stop them. Okay, now we need to talk about the fighting. The fighting spreads across three main areas. In Europe, Germany and Italy push across continent, taking over France and much of Eastern Europe and threatening Britain. In North Africa, the Allies and the Axis fought a long battle across the desert for control of the Mediterranean Sea and the Suez Canal. And across Asia and the Pacific Ocean, Japan swept through Southeast Asia, taking over the Philippines and Indonesia. And then they were getting close to Australia. Each of this area had its own kind of fighting. The European War was about armies and cities. The fighting in Africa moved fast across the desert, and the Pacific War was a tough struggle across the ocean and small islands. Because the fighting was spread across so many places, no single country could fight everywhere at once. So the Allies had to work together across ocean and continent to keep this up. This spread across the whole world is what made it a true world war, not just a fight in Europe. Okay, so the big turning point was that the war had a few big moments that changed everything. First, Germany's fast early victories made it look like nothing could stop it. At 1941, it controls most of Europe, and then on December 7th, 1941, Japan attacked an American Navy base at Pearl Harbor, which brought the United States fully into the war. On the Allied side, that one day changed the balance of the whole war. Later in June 1944, the Allies launched D-Day. Simple, D-Day. The biggest invasion by sea in history, opening a new front in Western Europe. At the same time, the Soviet Union was slowly pushing back German army from the east in a long, brutal fight. These turning points didn't end the war right away, but they marked the moment when the Axis stopped moving forward and the Allies started pushing everything at once. And Germany gave up on May 18, 1945, just day after Hitler took his own life in an underground shelter in Berlin. In the Pacific, the war kept going until August 1945, when the United States dropped 2 atomic bombs and at one of the city of Hiroshima and one on the city of Nagasaki. The destruction was worse than anything seen before, and Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945. Those atomic bombs are still the only time nuclear weapons have been used in wars. And while they ended the fighting, they also opened up a scary chapter in history with both Germany and Japan defeated. The fighting finally stopped, but the world came out of it completely different. Now I would like to, give some respect to one of the saddest and darkest part about the war was the Holocaust. This was when Nazi Ors, aka Germany, deliberately murdered around 6 million Jewish people, along with millions others, including Roma people, disabled people, political prisoners, and the Soviet soldiers who had been captured. This wasn't something that just happened because of the fighting. It was planned, organized effort to kill people on a massive scale, but it carried out in camps built across the parts of Europe that Germany controlled. The Nazi created a huge system just to find, gather, move, and kill people. The world only learned the full truth of what happened after the camps were freed in 1945. This, Holocaust was one of the most remembered and studied tragedy in human history, and it's a lasting reminder of where hatred and it's a lasting reminder of where hatred and unchecked power can lead. It's important to include this part in any true story about the war, because this war wasn't only about armies fighting, it was also about deliberately hurting of entire groups of people. Okay, so the cost of the war was enormous, somewhere between 70 and 85 million people died, including both soldiers and regular people, making this the deadliest conflict that has ever happened. Whole city were turned into rubble, economies were wrecked, and millions of people lost their home. But of all of that destruction, a new world began to take shape. The United Nations was created in 1945 to stop something like this ever happening again. The old European empires started falling apart as the place they controlled asked for their freedom, and their friendship between the Western democracy and the Soviet Union broke down pretty quickly afterward, leading into the Cold War, a long standoff between two superpowers that shaped the rest of 20th century. So World War II wasn't really just an ending. It was just the beginning of a world that we live today. That's the whole story in 10 minutes. If this helped you, like and subscribe. See you in the next video.